I used to believe that buildings were just buildings. Concrete, steel, pipes, wiring. Now I know better. They are not structures. They are waiting. They are calculating. They are patient. They remember. When I chose to stay, the building changed how it treated me. Not cruelly, not kindly, possessively. It acknowledged me differently. Doors opened a fraction faster when I approached. Lights flickered long enough to seem alive. Shadows stretched toward me. And the elevator. The elevator stopped pretending to be empty. I could feel what waited inside even before it moved. I stopped pretending my apartment belonged to me. It wasn't mine. It was a station, a post, a place between decisions, between consequences. At first I tried to warn the new tenants about the buttons, about skipping floors, about never riding when the elevator arrived without being called. Most ignored me. Some smiled politely and avoided me afterward. A few seemed relieved, like they already felt it too, the wrongness in the hallways, the weight in the cables. But it didn't matter. The building corrected me every time. If I spoke too much, my words came out wrong. If I followed someone too closely toward the stairs, the hallway stretched, separating us. If I knocked too long on a door, the number blurred and changed. It didn't want prevention, it wanted participation. So I learned to warn without warning. I learned to pause before the elevator doors, just long enough for someone to notice. I learned to flinch when certain buttons glowed. I left notes that said nothing and everything at once, planting discomfort where curiosity would grow. Most ignored the signs. Everyone pressed a button eventually. The lower floors never stopped expanding. Sometimes the elevator opened late at night, and I caught glimpses of spaces that didn't belong, gaps wider than they should be, depths that didn't match the building. Anxiety. The floors weren't stacked evenly. They layered themselves by emotion. Fear-heavy floors sagged and warped. Ceilings pressed down. Walls pulsed. Regret-heavy floors stretched endlessly, repeating hallways. Doors that never opened. Furniture arranged neatly around nothing. Denial floors were bright, almost pleasant. But they were traps. They lured you into comfort while the elevado measured your hesitation. Some floors screamed. Some whispered. Some were silent in a way that made listening painful. I began to recognize patterns. People who hesitated before pressing a button ended up on narrow floors with too many doors. People who pressed confidently but incorrectly were sent deeper. People who tried to go back went lowest of all. And people who believed nothing was WR. They were trapped the longest. The building started using me. Not directly, subtly. When a tenant stepped inside the elevator with me, I felt pressure behind my eyes, a nudge, a suggestion. My gaze shifted without intention. My weight drew attention elsewhere. Once a man asked which floor I lived on. I opened my mouth to say 12. 16. Came out instead. He pressed it. I watched his reflection stretch along the mirrored walls as the doors closed. I never saw him again. That night, my apartment felt warmer. I stopped seeing myself as a person. People leave, people escape. I became part of the system, a buffer, a filter, a guide between curiosity and consequence. The elevator began trusting me. It stopped whispering. Warnings. It stopped glitching. Numbers stayed clean. Once it let me choose, it offered a blank button. No number, no name, just pulsing slowly. I didn't press it. The elevator seemed disappointed. I listened to the building, its history, its pulses, its moods. Through pipes at night, vibrations in walls, the rhythm of the elevator cables. It wasn't built this way. It became this way. It Amy full of endings, missed turns, mistakes, fears, regrets, lost opportunities, and it couldn't stop growing. Sometimes, people who vanished returned, not fully. They lingered in hallways that hadn't existed the day before, faces slightly misaligned, like memories layered wrong, silent, waiting. Eventually, the elevator claimed them. I stopped checking mirrors. The lag in my reflection grew. Sometimes it smiled when I didn't. Sometimes it watched the elevator even when I wasn't looking. I covered the mirrors. New ones appeared. The crying I heard late at night became clearer, specific. It came from floors the elevator refused to show, from spaces between levels, from places built of repetition. It sounded like me because it was me, parallel me. Versions that pressed different, buttons. Versions that hesitated longer. Versions that tried harder to leave. They weren't dead. They were stored. Then the plaque made sense, current count subject to change. It wasn't about floors. It was about people. One night, a child stepped into the building alone. No parent, no guardian, small backpack, eyes too tired. The building stirred. I felt it immediately. I followed him to the elevator. He looked at the buttons, confused. "Which one goes home?" he asked. I froze. The elevator waited. I knelt beside him. "I know the right way," I said. "The stairs." He frowned. "It's really high." "I know," I said, "but it's right." He hesitated, nodded. The building groaned. Lights flickered violently. Elevator doors slammed shut. The stairs stretched. He climbed and climbed. I watched until he disappeared upward, past floors that tried to reshape themselves around him. That night, my apartment was colder than ever. The building was angry, but it didn't correct me. Not yet. A new rule appeared, felt, not written. I was allowed to save one, sometimes at a cost. The cost came slowly. Memories slipped, faces blurred. My name felt less solid. The building began introducing me to tenants as something else, the one who knows. The long one, the floor between. Resistance created space. Space created floors. When I hear crying in the elevator at night, I don't rush. I listen. I try to recognize the version. If it sounds like me trying too hard, I let the doors close. If it's almost me, I press the emergency stop. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I no longer count days. I count arrivals, disappearances, the number of times the elevator hesitates. The city outside moves, but it feels thinner, like a backdrop, like a projection to make the building seem smaller. If you're hearing this, you're paying attention. If you're paying attention, you've noticed the wrongness in ordinary places. Elevators, stairs, hallways, buttons. They remember why. Oh, hesitation, curiosity, mistakes. And when you press a button that doesn't exist, you don't go somewhere new. You go somewhere that was waiting for you. I know this because I've watched every floor unfold, every hesitation grow, every almost saved, every almost lost. And the building, it waits. It always waits. Always.